Nabu the Wonderful God of Borsippa. Who was the god Nabu? The king Ashurbanipal invoked Nebo, and said Nebo was known as the god of wisdom and learning, and he wanted for Nebo to bless his books, praying, "Forever, O Nebo, king of all heaven and earth, look gladly upon this library of Ashurbanipal, his shepherd, reverencer of your divinity." When Ashurbanipal became king of Assyria, he wrote to Nabu in Borsippa and asked him to please send him fresh copies of his temple tablets so he could have fresh books in the temple of Assur, the god of Assyria. Those are the books he speaks of. So the Assyrian king Ashurbanipal knew Nebo was Nabu and depended on him greatly. Ashurbanipal said he learned to read tablets from before the Great Flood, and no doubt it was Nabu that taught him. So this might be the first time you hear of Nabu and don't know him. Nabu was the god of Borsippa. There, he was the god of wisdom and writing also. In the first millennium BCE, Nabu is one of the most important Mesopotamian gods there ever was. First he was a minister of Marduk, he later becomes his co-regent at the head of the gods. Nabu's influence on Mesopotamian culture is significant well into the later periods. Nabu appears in the Bible as Nebo. When the God of Israel was kicked out of Egypt and went into exile, he wrote a letter to Nabu, who was also Thoth, and said this: "He puts in the ears of Hermes, till now, my son, I, banished from my home, have lived expatriate in exile. Now safe and sound I seek my home once more. And when but yet a little while I shall have left you, freed from these bonds of body, see that you do not mourn me as one dead. For I return to that supreme and happy state to which the universe's citizens will come when in the after state." That don't sound like Marduk, does it? Notice next what he says. "For there the only God is Supreme Lord, and he will fill his citizens with wondrous joy, compared to which the state down here, which is regarded by the multitude as life, should rather be called death." You see, Marduk, the god of Israel, knew all about the religion of the mind, which taught people our real creator. But he never taught the children of Abraham who God is. He was too busy playing the God of Israel. Now late Babylonian stamp seal depicting symbols of Nabu and Marduk on a protective dragon. Marduk is associated with the dragon Tiamat, in the Enuma Elish, that becomes our earth. However, we know that Nabu is Hermes, and he also is associated with a dragon called Poimander. Nabu is known as a god of knowledge in Babylon, but Nabu is not only Hermes, but is also known as Thoth, the Egyptian god of knowledge, in Egypt. The dragon Poimander taught Hermes more than anyone. Nabu is the patron deity of Borsippa as well as the minister and scribe of Marduk. Nabu's most important scribal duty was effected annually on the 11th day of Nisan, the first month of the year, marking the end of the Akituk festival. Having settled the fate of the land with Marduk whom he saved, Nabu inscribed it on the tablet of destinies, in accordance with the creation account of the Enuma Elish. The Akituk festival should be very important to people of the earth because once investigated, you find that what took place in the Enuma Elish was God's will. So it was God's will for the earth to be put in an orbit around our sun, but how it was done is told in the Enuma Elish. The Akituk festival was very important, for the Enuma Elish tells us it's on that date our earth was sent into an orbit around our sun. This history is very important to earth people and you probably don't know it. The Akituk festival was celebrated on the night of the end of the month of Nisan. That time is between March/April. The night was the last day of the month of our March. Probably as a consequence of his scribal role, Nabu soon became god of writing, progressively taking over from the goddess Nidaba in that function. As god of writing, Nabu was also the god of scribes, commonly invoked in the colophons of texts. From god of writing, Nabu became lord of wisdom, thus inheriting a characteristic of his divine ancestor Enki/Ea, who was traditionally accepted as the father of Marduk. Some write, in the Babylonian period Nabu was on a level with Bel/Marduk as joint heads of the pantheon and co-rulers of the universe. Universe is our world or solar system. The universe Marduk became in charge of is our world. That happened when the Atlanteans was ready to leave the earth. Nabu/Hermes/Thoth had previously spoken of the gods leaving the earth in his prophecy of Egypt. So to fully understand the inheritance Marduk received, we have to look at what Hammurabi's Code of Laws tells us. Hammurabi was born 1810 BC in Babylonia and died 1750 BC, Babylon, Iraq. His writings was translated by L.W. King. Notice what he says. When Anu the Sublime, king of the Anunnaki, and Bel, the Lord of heaven and earth, who decreed the fate of the land, assigned to Marduk, the overruling son of Ea, god of righteousness, dominion over earthly man, and made him great among the Agigi, they called Babylon by his illustrious name, made it great on earth, and founded an everlasting kingdom in it, whose foundations are laid so solidly as those of heaven and earth. Then Anu and Bel called by name me, Hammurabi, the exalted prince, who feared God, to bring about the rule of righteousness in the land, to destroy the wicked and the evildoers, so that the strong should not harm the weak, so that I should rule over the black-headed people like Shamash, and enlighten the land, to further the well-being of mankind. Anu was the king of heaven and made major decisions that affected the earth and man. So Bel, the Lord of heaven and earth, who decreed the fate of the land, was the god known as Enlil, and was second in command, so he and Anu turned over the control of the whole earth to Marduk. So this happened about 1810 BC and 1750 BC, and now the gods that left earth could well go back home they called heaven. For Marduk could well rule the whole earth. In the Bible the God of Israel said it was he that created the heavens and the earth. Marduk said the same thing. He also said that when he played the god of Amun-Ra in Egypt, and he also said that when he played the role of Ahura Mazda and Zeus. So someone saying their God created heaven and earth, doesn't mean a hill of beans to me. You see, I know it was our Son that our real God used to fill his will to have a heaven and earth right here where we are in this day and time. Oh, let me say this, Marduk was the God of Israel and the father of Nabu, also, who was the god of Babylon. But getting back to Nabu, it's he I find was more important than all the gods, and he is my teacher. You can understand this if you study the writings of Nebuchadnezzar's inscription found in Babylon. Also the cylinder of Cyrus the Great that was also found in Babylon. Nabu was mentioned in Eblat tablets along with other gods from Eblat. The Eblat tablets are a collection of as many as 1,800 complete clay tablets, 4,700 fragments, and many thousands of minor chips found in the palace archives of the ancient city of Eblat, Syria.